Remember, you don't need a home to build an empire. Like you just said, you're the seventh largest organization in the US for volleyball. And you never had a place that was yours. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Entrepreneur podcast. Here on this podcast, we talk about athletes who have turned their sport into a business. So if you are somebody who loves sports, loves your sport or your athleticism, and you have or are trying to turn it into a business, then you're in the right place, and we're going to have lots of discussions with that. And today we're talking with Beth Pirrone, who runs Westchester Volleyball. She runs lots of indoor and outdoor volleyball leagues and tournaments. She's also a coach, and she is a club director. So we have a lot of things to talk about with her. And mainly what we want to talk about is how she ends up making $56,000 per summer on what could be just a side hustle for you. So hopefully you enjoy the show, and we'll see you in there. All right. So welcome to the very first episode of our Entrepreneur Athlete podcast. This podcast is specifically for players who love their sport, athletes who love their sport and are turning their sport into a business. So entrepreneurs and athletes coming together, learning how to build a business, and taking the lead from masters such as yourself. Miss Beth Pirrone or Pirrone? I should have checked that before.
You got it the first time around. It's Pirrone.
Okay, awesome. And you're in New York, and you're up in Westchester now, and you're running Westchester Volleyball. You're also coaching for Maritime College. And I saw that you did do a little stint at Fordham University as well.
I did.
So let's start by just kind of introducing yourself right now. And I would love to hear a little bit about what your sport, your playing experience in your sport, and what is your current business?
Gotcha. So current business, our organization is Westchester Volleyball, New York. A little bit of background, obviously we're volleyball. A little bit of background about myself. I, as a child, always played softball. That was my main sport. So volleyball was not my first choice as far as what I wanted to participate in. Where I grew up in Pennsylvania, volleyball really was not around much. I mean, I think when I graduated high school, I think it was like the sixth year that they had a girls varsity volleyball team. So I started out as an athlete, as a softball player, moved to New York to pursue school. And when I met my now husband in 2012, he was the one who started, getting me interested in volleyball. Throughout high school, my PE teacher was asking me, come play volleyball. You should be a part of the team. You're tall, you're really strong. So I always dabbled a little bit with volleyball. I mean, I had fun with it, but I was never properly trained. So when I met my husband, he had started this beach volleyball league in Westchester. And it started with about 6 teams. And it was just, 6-on-6, a lot of fun. I'm like, oh, this looks like a lot of fun. So I started practicing. I found coaches in our area, started doing drills with them. And believe it or not, I actually did one of your clinics in Long Beach, like a long time ago. It was probably 9 years ago. It was Misty May was doing the junior portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we actually first met. So I really got involved with volleyball. I started going to coaching clinics. I started playing indoor. I was training with so many other different coaches and really just learning the game and loving it. It was very difficult, at first, but I think over time, I found a really big appreciation for the sport, much more than I ever did when I was, growing up, because I didn't know much about it. And now that I'm older and I have experience, I went from kind of playing at a, very recreational level to now being able to play at a more competitive level. So It is something in my free time that I enjoy. I'm more of a fan of beach volleyball than indoor. So beach is definitely my thing. So,
so that's pretty unique I would say is that you started a business at the same time as you got into the sport. I think a lot of people who might be watching this or listening to it, they would, they're addicted to their sport and they're like, well, I want to stay in it and I think I can make some money. But you found it as an adult and then you walked into a business that was already running with your husband.
So it wasn't at that time, it wasn't a business. It was more like, let's put some volleyball teams together. We love playing. It was 6-on-6. So that was in 2000. I think he started in 2010, maybe. We met 2012. So I came along and I was like, oh, this is great. Let's do more. So we went from running one league to now running 6 adult leagues, to now running a juniors beach doubles program that started out with 35 players. And this past season, I had 155.
Incredible.
So yeah, we've really expanded what we've been doing. I mean, we're running doubles leagues and quads leagues. And, then aside from our beach, we're now opening up, the grass volleyball arena. So we're kind of doing everything. We went from 6 teams to now a ginormous organization with probably, over, I would say 1,000 members in our organization.
Wow. 1,000 members in your organization.
Yeah.
Okay. So your business now, and there's got to be so many arms. So once we get into the business and numbers side of it, we're probably going to be talking about a lot of different services and products, but you've got leagues, you've got a juniors club,
you do.
And you're coaching yourself. So you're already,
I am
in that side of it. So volleyball is kind of giving you a lot of different avenues of revenue.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, even the club, indoor club, I started coaching club about 7 years ago. So the club that I coach at, I'm also the assistant director. So there's another portion aside from coaching Division III volleyball. I'm coaching club and assistant director for that as well. So my life is slightly crazy.
Okay.
Lots of volleyball.
All right. Well, I can't wait to dig into that. But first, I want to talk about what other jobs have you had before you were running your own little empire up in Westchester. What other jobs? So
I was actually in corporate finance, which is the complete polar opposite of what I'm doing now. So
a nice advantage when you know those numbers.
Yeah. So I honestly was like super miserable. I live in Westchester, literally worked like from 7 a.m., 7, 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I really didn't have, a quality of life. So as my husband and I were working more on, more volleyball opportunities, he just said to me, look, you know what, quit your job, run volleyball, coach as many teams as you can, and let's, make it bigger and better. So that's what I did.
Wow.
And I mean, up until COVID hit, we were running indoor, leagues and tournaments, but that kind of crushed us a little bit this season. But yeah, so it's an all year round thing. And I made a business out of it between running clinics and leagues and tournaments and, working with different recreation departments in Westchester, working directly with Westchester County Park and Rec. They provided a lot of opportunities for us. So, so far we've made a good name for ourselves and have a lot of good working relationships.
So you came into something that was, could you say it was your husband's passion at that time, but not quite a strong business? Because it seems like maybe you came in from a corporate mindset where very numbers oriented as you grow through that, and like what the CEOs are usually focused on. And then you took a small league and now just figured out how to make it blossom into so many leagues and clubs and clinics. Is that accurate, that you kind of took that corporate set to a passion?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, my husband, his day job is he's an MRI technologist. So for him, this was like a fun thing. So I said, let's take a fun thing and let's make some money and dominate Lower Westchester. So, I mean, there's really no other organization in this area that would even, I mean, not to brag or boast, but that could, you know, come close to what we've been doing over the past few years.
That's so awesome. And that's exactly the theme of this podcast. You took a fun thing and you made it into a living for yourself when you already had a job. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And it's fun and I love it. You have to be passionate about it. I mean, aside from the business part of it, I actually find a sport that I like love, and I kick myself like every day. I think my husband and I talk about it. I'm like, why didn't you play when you were younger? You know, you're tall, you're athletic. And I'm like, it just, you know, and the crazy thing is in Pennsylvania where I went to school, they actually have a boys team now, and they just won their like districts or sectionals like, you know, 2 years ago. So it went from, you know, a nothing program to now having a girls program and a boys program, which is great. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I like hearing that a boys program is growing strong, especially in the Northeast.
It is. I actually started coaching. Really my first like coaching job for high school was a boys high school team. So I coached there for 3 years, and third year we won our section.
There you go.
So we went to, yeah. I mean, hey,
it's a quick turnaround.
It is. You know, I move fast. That's all I can say.
I love it. Okay, well, so going back to kind of when you changed out of this corporate job, you retired, you quit something that was going well, you just maybe weren't getting most enjoyment out of it. Were there doubters along the way? Are there doubters along the way? And how did you or how do you deal with that?
I mean, I'm sure there were, especially like when I first started, I'll be honest. I mean, you know, when you start a new sport and you get to learn, you know, especially volleyball, I mean, it's something where physically you can do it, but I think you really understand it the more experience you have, right? So the more you play, you know, it's just not something that you can pick up. So for me, I think to establish myself in the volleyball world, you know, I think I needed to prove myself.
As a player?
As a player, yeah. For sure.
You think that helped, that getting good at the sport helped you basically create a name where people could trust you to coach or to hire coaches or leagues?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, if you want to come to my organization, especially in a coaching aspect, you know, you want to be coached by somebody who knows how to play, right? I mean, sure. I know that as an athlete too. I mean, you know, softball was my main sport, but I wanted someone to coach me that I know they know what they're doing. Right. And by showing me. So like if I'm at practice and I can't demonstrate a drill myself, well, then why should my players demonstrate that drill? You know,
I've always thought that there should be kind of two coaches. And if you're coaching youth, if you're coaching like people who are under 16 years old, you should be able to demonstrate those skills, those techniques, sure. and show what you can do. And so in my mind, I've always thought like the 60 and under coaches, you know, those should be kind of reserved for the kids. And then as you get people who aren't quite physical enough or don't have the skill, but they just know what to do. You know, I can think of a number of college coaches that it would be interesting to see them take a 4-step approach, get in the air and jump.
Yeah.
But they're brilliant in terms of stats and in terms of leadership and management.
Right.
And they know the game so well. So you did come from a standpoint where you said, all right, I got to get good at the sport and then I can be better in my business. And I think I go through the same thing with Better at Beach, where I'm like, yeah, like I have to continue competing on the AVP and sharing that name and showing people like, hey, I can do it. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
And it does give you an upper hand. It does.
Yeah,
you have
absolutely.
to answer less questions. So, okay.
Yeah, except for when my husband yells at me that, you know, you can't win every tournament, Beth, that we run. You can't win every tournament. You've got to lose at some point. And I'm like, well, you know, I'll get around to that at some point. I've lost plenty of times before. So, you know, it is what it is.
Winning feels good.
It does feel good.
Okay. So then what were your fears when you were switching that career, when you're saying like, all right, I'm leaving corporate finance and I'm going to start volleyball leagues? there's got to be some kind of hesitation there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm a very consistent person. So not knowing like, when am I getting paid, or how am I getting paid, or how much am I going to get paid? The unknown of being like, okay, I'm going to run this league. Am I going to have enough people to sign up, or am I going to have enough kids, for this clinic? Am I going to have enough money after I'm done paying people out and, gym rental or the beach rental or whatever it may be. So just the unknown of not, the financial part of it really is like, okay, well, is my husband going to have to support me forever, or will I be able to, make enough money where, it makes sense what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, I know that well. And then you hear all those startups and new companies, and like, oh, they're 3 years into it, and the owner says like, I still haven't taken a salary. You hear that on Shark Tank all the time, where it's like, no, haven't paid myself, just started this business. How do you start a full-time business and be able to not pay yourself? Like, I know that I don't necessarily have a salary, and everything that I do, like, I live quite frugally, and I give everything right back into the business. So, my employees for sure are making more than me. And it's
nice. That's nice. I'll come work for you in California
for a lot less work. But it's building that and thinking, I'm not taking that money because I think I can build it. I think it's going to be stronger. Like for us, I'm still very much nowhere close to where I want to be in terms of systems, in terms of, level of reach, and the players that we can coach and reach. Yeah. And at some point we will get there where I can develop some sort of cushion for myself to breathe and not have to be in full sprint mode all the time. But at the same time, as an athlete, I was always proud that I can be in sprint mode for a very long time.
Yeah, so, for sure.
All right. Well, did you have a plan or a fallback for if you failed? Like, were you going to be able to go back to this job, or were you just done in finance?
I was done in finance. It was a very male-dominated, industry or profession. And I still, even think volleyball is as well. I know, more so now there are more women head coaches in the collegiate aspect of coaching, which is great. I love seeing it, but there's more. We need more for sure. I would love to see some more, female coaches, but we're getting there slowly but surely. I was done with finance, and in my head, I'm a perfectionist, and I don't lose. So in my head, I didn't think of the what ifs. I just was like, I'm making this work. I like it. There's nothing like us in the area, so let's go for it. It was a process, but.
Do you think you were born that way? Do you think you developed that I don't lose, I'm just going to keep grinding until I win? Do you think that you had that in you, and no matter what, if you had never found sports in your life, if your parents never let you play or didn't put you in, do you think you would have had that same spirit, or do you think that was developed through your sport?
I definitely think it was developed through, my sports. Especially softball. As a third baseman, I practiced all year round. I was on a travel team. We were, second in the state of Pennsylvania. So, I was always grinding all the time. We'd have a 3-hour practice, and then I'd be at the gym after, or I would get more reps in with my dad or my brother. So it made me always want to work harder, be better, accomplish something. If I didn't have sports, I don't know if I would have the same drive. Okay. I'm not sure. I'm very competitive, so I've always had that in my life. So I have great parents who both work very hard, so they've instilled that in me as well. But I think sports also kept me out of trouble. My brother as well. It's kind of like, hey, if you want to play sports, then you got to stay out of trouble. So. Yeah. And I think it also helps you like work with people, it also helps with, like leadership and, possibly having a captain's role on the team. I think overall, it just helps you grow as a person. And it gets you ready for, the next steps, whether, college or whatever it may be after, high school.
I think being a captain on several teams definitely gave me a look at how to be a leader and how not to be a leader. I know that I have a certain amount of grind and I'm unforgiving with myself. And some people follow along with that and love that, but some people are like, why are you putting in all of this extra work? And I was tougher on my teammates than my coaches were a lot of the time. Yeah. And I think I had to learn how to chill that a little bit in order to right now do like employees and coaches and everything.
For sure.
I still definitely work harder than anybody in my circle. And I continue to try to push that. Like, and if I feel like I'm not there right then, I'm like, whoa, they're working harder than me. Like now I step it up a little bit. And if you see me walking around without bags under my eyes, then there's a problem,
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I totally get it too. I think, working with coaches or employees, you have to try and find that happy medium. And I think that's something that my husband and I sometimes struggle with because, we're very friendly people. I'm always the bad cop, always. So it's like, oh, go talk to Beth, because I don't tolerate certain things. So with my husband, he's such a nice guy. I mean, I will say that, but sometimes, it's hard to find that balance between even the adults that play like in your leagues. Like, of course, like you're on the beach, you know what I mean? You're playing volleyball. It's fun. Like you're supposed to be there having fun, right? But when it comes to a certain situation, you have to handle it as a boss, and people have to understand that there's, our relationship off the court and out of the league is one thing, but when we're running our business, it's business, so whether you're my friend or not, you have to listen and do what we're telling you to do. So I think it's tough to balance that for sure.
And there aren't enough people willing to do that. I've said this might be a little bit personal, but I've always said, like, I'm willing to be a dick. I'm willing to do that if it gets something done better, faster, if it hurts your feelings for a short term, but this is a better thing for you in the long term. Of course, that's in my vision, whatever. But I've always looked at that as, if I tell my friend right now that they're screwing up, they might hate me and they might break my friendship. But this is something that they need to hear because no one else is telling them. And I want to be able to help them. And I think you can definitely do that in business. And specifically with volleyball tournaments, the fact that beach volleyball tournaments go from 8 a.m. in the morning and they're not done by the 8 p.m. sunset is only a lack of a tournament director willing to be a dick. Like to go over and say, no more warm up. You're done play. You start losing a point now. Now it's 1-1. Now it's 2-2. Like every 30 seconds, and you just go there. And I've been to tournaments in Florida where they go around and they yell at people, and you're like, man, what a jerk. But they get their tournaments done, and their tournaments are 4 times the size the tournaments are in New York and in Jersey. So I take a look at those guys, and I'm like, yeah, people don't like them in that moment, but at least you get to go home before dark, and like your wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, they don't hate volleyball because it takes you away for the entire day.
Yeah, for sure. I think also, I mean, us being a promoter of AVP America helps us a lot too, because I think one of the things that we don't struggle with it, but people don't like the response because we go through and we look at the rankings and we make sure that people are playing in the right division. I mean, we've had people try and sandbag all the time, and they don't like saying, hey, you can't play in double B. You're a double A player. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be in the right division, and that's it. I mean, so those are areas too where people get very feisty, but you have to be firm with it. Otherwise, it ruins the whole entire tournament, and then everyone hates you, except, you know what I mean? Instead of one person kind of hating you, then the whole entire tournament hates you for, having someone not playing in the right division. So.
And it seems like there's no way around that sometimes. If you're a league organizer or a tournament organizer, somebody's going to be unhappy because some rule is going to prevent them from winning or being, the leader in pool play points. because you chose this certain scoring system. And they're like, well, if you did this scoring system, I'd be second. Yeah, but that's what it is. Yeah.
Right. And that's, I mean, and again, we just go back because we run our tournaments just like, any other, AVP America promoter does it. Like, this is the format. And we just use the same format every time. And they're like, yeah, but like you said, oh, you could reseed this way. You could reseed that way. And I'm like, well, we're just reseeding how all the other promoters reseed. So yes, we can do it numerous different ways. This is how we do it. If you don't like it, you can either stay for playoffs or you can leave.
So let's go back a little bit here, because we talked about just very briefly you getting a certain toughness or hard work from sports, and we think it was from sports. But something that I always question, I was coaching a phys ed class in Sweden, and this is something that I had heard my whole life. And she was just like walking when it was supposed to be like a jog, and I said, if you're not going to put in effort here, that's going to circulate in your entire life for everything. Like, you're not going to want to work hard. You're not going to do the things you don't want to do. And she looked at me, and this is the first person who ever looked at me. She's a 15-year-old girl. And she goes, that's simply not true. And I was like, what? And like this little girl like dug into my brain for the next few days. And I started thinking, like, I personally hated art. Hate arts and crafts. Don't like it. Don't want to do it. I don't want to imagine where to hang pictures in my house. It's a nightmare for me. And I just end up getting angry. I don't know why. It's just always been that way. And I said, I put zero effort into any art or arts and crafts growing up. Yeah. And I worked my tail off. So with that as a backstory, do you think the lessons that you learned in sport, which are now like applying to your business, that hard work, that we win, no matter how long it takes me, we win. Do you think that those can be learned anywhere else besides athletics? I mean, we look at like guys like Kevin Hart, maybe, or people who have come up through really tough situations, the street situations, that don't become athletes, but become incredible business people. And, people who are the rappers, singers, everybody who has come up through like the hip hop world seems to have some kind of ridiculous, crazy backstory. And they didn't need sport to become this badass CEO.
I guess you're right. I don't know. I mean, if I'm just thinking of myself, that's what helped me. But I always had a passion for the sport I was playing. But I also have the mentality of no matter what I'm doing, even if I don't have a passion for it, I want it to be done like perfectly. If that makes any sense. That's just how I'm wired. Sure. I don't know. I think it may help some. Like you said, it may not help everybody, but it could.
It could, right? I think it could. Just the idea that you need somewhere to sharpen those skills or develop them. And I think sport is a great place to do that. It's not the only place, but it is definitely a fun place.
Yeah, I mean, it also, could lead to scholarships or lead to going to a better school. I don't know. And I think the good thing is there's more opportunity for volleyball, now more so than ever between beach and indoor, so maybe it'll give someone an opportunity to get a better education. It's always a plus. So,
or maybe they could study with that 3 hours a day that they're spending in a volleyball gym. Yeah. But like you said, somebody, like, if you don't drag them to a gym, now they have this freedom, and some people don't know where to apply that. And that's an issue. So if it's 100%, it's better than zero. Like, you just need direction, and then whatever direction you're going, I think you can sharpen those skills that can make you a great human, a great adult. You learn how to help people. You learn how to support people. You learn how to accept criticism.
Which helped me. I mean, because even as an adult, I think I grew up playing softball, so I could do it with my eyes closed. And then when it came to volleyball, I'm like, And I like my first years, I'm like, I was so mad at myself on the court. And I had to learn that it wasn't going to happen overnight and I wasn't going to be amazing. But also, in order to have people want to play volleyball with me, I can't be, like you said, I can't be a dick, like on the court. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not like I was a jerk to anybody. I was so hard on myself that people were like, oh my gosh, I can't be around you. Like, if you can't shake it off and move on to the next point, like, we can't play together anymore. So that was, that was definitely a learning lesson for me in the beginning, because I'm like, whoa, I have to chill out, because by the time I actually can play really well, no one's going to want to play volleyball with me anymore. So that was a big learning lesson for me on the playing aspect of it.
You think you can take that and throw that into like your business and business partnerships? If you're hard to work with, man, people just don't want to do it. You got to figure out how to be a good person. Otherwise, the person who wants to give you a loan is just going to kick you out of that bank, because they're just like, this person is obnoxious. And yeah, I could give her money, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
And same thing, I think, with partnerships and renting gyms and facilities.
Yeah.
If you have to have that constant conversation with them of like, they're like, oh man, we got the school play, like we got 2 hours where we can't put your business in there. And then if you come back and rage on them, you're not going to be top of their priorities next quarter.
No. I mean, it's all about relationship building. And, that I'm glad I learned that in the very beginning. So that way it has helped me grow a lot of really amazing connections and partnerships. And, again, like even working like with AVP America, that's probably the best thing that's ever happened to our business.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just,
I advised against that for several people.
Really?
For sure. I said, well, here's the thing. If you were starting something out and you didn't know where you were going, I was like, okay, this is great. They're going to have a framework for you. But there were some people who I saw had built out an incredible infrastructure and had been doing something for 20 years and were massive. And then from what I heard, AVP America, who's also run by a friend, like, I think they're great. I wanted to respect the individual people's hard work. And I think there was something where there was either a percentage or they were giving like $15 from each player over to that. And I said, what are you getting? I knew there was an insurance plan, but like, if you're already up and running, why do you need to slap a sticker on top of your leagues and tournaments to make it happen? And so I said, unless you can find me a reason why like this improves all of you or brings massive more people to you, that your own energy couldn't give you when you're giving away that money. And like, yeah, you get a lot more visibility on AVP America. You get the national rankings. People think it's cool to be nationally ranked, but there needed to be a better reason than, well, because it's the AVP. It's still your business. And if you're going to let somebody take control, I think that was the main thing, was that there was going to be a little too much control given. And for people who don't play volleyball, could you explain what AVP America is and what it does for you?
Oh, yeah, sure. So AVP America is their umbrella underneath the AVP umbrella. And they are, the largest grass organization, now beach organization. So for us, I mean, obviously they provide the insurance stuff, but I wouldn't say that, ultimately for us, I mean, all they want are the memberships, which is fine, and then they provide us insurance, lots of gear. We receive those optics balls when no one can order them online. I got 2 big boxes, tons of gear for our season, prizes, also different partnerships with Parkinson Net, different clothing companies to help us if we want to make any t-shirts. So we benefit a lot from it. I mean,
okay. I think, so their organization, they served as a conduit for the time and energy that you would spend looking for a printer for shirts, the extra expense, because you're only going to have 100 shirts, whereas AVP America is going to have, 50,000 shirts printed. So they're getting much better deals, which they then share with you.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, the printing company that we work with, they're actually based in Long Island as well. I'll send in my orders for all of our leagues. I mean, they package them they label them with team name, in, boxes with, this is intermediate rec, this group, that. I mean, they're phenomenal. I mean, I had, probably like 300-400 shirts printed, and they got them out to me in like a week and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a nice company to be connected to.
Yeah, and the pricing is amazing. So I wouldn't say, I mean, from how I feel and my husband feels, I mean, we benefit a lot. I don't think that they have any control over our business.
Okay.
We've always felt from AVP America that, we are well respected. They do acknowledge us as being one of their larger organizations. So I feel super loved. I know that they're, part of Highline, the indoor sand facility. They, give us good rental.
Oh yeah, Wayne and Carly. I mean, they're great people.
So
I just saw a lot of stickers getting slapped on top of people's work, and some part of me wanted to protect a little bit of that and say, are you? Because I didn't know the inside, so I said, like, what are you getting, and what are you giving? And if the answer came back as, well, I get to put AVP on my. And AVP, by the way, for those who don't know, it's the professional beach volleyball tour in the U.S. and widely recognized as like the strongest and most influential tour in the world. But to be able just to put that sticker on without getting something, and I feel like people try to do that. They develop a partnership with some company, and they dedicate a lot of time and a lot of emailing and a lot of phone calls, and they go, what's the upside and how much are you giving and how much are you getting? And it can't always just be, oh, well, now I'm partnered with I don't know, name a big company like Elon Musk. Like I'm partnered with Tesla. Cool.
Yeah.
What is it?
Okay, and so what? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I get it. No, yeah, we benefit. So, I mean, awesome. Even they have so many different partnerships with so many different other companies too. And, we, again, get discounts if we want to get sand socks, there's a company they work with. And so we have to order, more and more nets every year, thankfully, because we're growing more and more. So, to get 40% off of a Parkinson net is great.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
So
if somebody else were starting volleyball leagues and tournaments, would one of your recommendations be try to team up with AVP America?
Yeah, but I think in order to join with them, you'd have to be somewhat established first. Okay. Again, I'm not speaking for them, but I know when you apply, we applied back when it was Volley America, and then it changed over to AVP America. So my husband and I did talk about it. I don't know when we first became a member. I'm so brain dead, but I would say we've been with them for maybe 4 or 5 years. I don't know. It was like the last year when it was Volley America, then it switched over when we started. Again, I don't remember. But when we had kind of first really started expanding and doing more leagues, and my husband was like, do you want to do the Volley America thing? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just don't feel ready for it, because they ask you, how many people are in your organization, and if you don't have much of anything, you're really not going to benefit from each other.
Yeah, I get that. Not wanting to, you see somebody who has this great idea, or I get probably 2 phone calls per year of some athlete who wants to come out to California and pursue beach volleyball full time. And I tell them everything that happens and that needs to happen. But I say, you have to get here. Like, get here. That will be 95% of your job. Don't organize a job before you get here. Don't wait until blah, blah, blah. Like, you have to just buy a ticket. I go, if you buy a ticket, we'll have a much longer conversation. But until then, you got to show me that you're serious, that you're willing to put your chips on the table. Because if you just have 99 conversations about it and you never make it move, much like entrepreneurs, you can talk about businesses and ideas and plans all day, but put your money and your time where your mouth is.
Yeah, exactly.
And people take you seriously.
They do. I mean, I think when we had spoken prior to this about something else. I mean, I think I spoke with Carly, and I think she said we were out of like over 300 promoters. We're like Westchester Volleyball is ranked like the 7th largest organization.
Let's go.
And when you come to New York, because I'm still expecting you to come here to do a clinic, or clinics plural, when you have time, you'll see like the beach that we work with. You're going to be like, oh my God, it's not like Hermosa Beach or Manhattan Beach. You know, you have beach for days. I mean, it's really, we don't have a lot to work with, but what we do have is
sand.
Yeah, that's it. And we make it work. So
don't we all?
Now, if we had more beach, that would be amazing, because then we would really we'd really make a lot of things happen. But we're working on it.
And I heard you told me you were petitioning Westchester County or individual cities for more courts.
Yeah. We sent a friend of ours works in the government and with the county, and I put together a proposal, and she was kind enough to pass it along to pretty much everybody in Westchester County. So we're looking for someone to give us a piece of grass and build courts, and that's it. That's all we want.
I would really love to get into that, because like now we got to move into the businessy portion of this talk. Yeah. And I'm freezing in my volleyball thing, because I know that I want to start a bunch of different facilities without needing necessarily buildings. So somewhere like along the south that has 9 or 10 warm months during the year, and saying, you know, if you go just outside a suburban area, you buy a plot of land. I think like the McDonald's guy, he's like, no, own the land, and then you can kick whoever you want off in your real estate company.
Yeah.
But you know, you get those courts, you get that sand in, and then you just start up some leagues. And now you're paying, software, you're paying one full-time employee to run those leagues and tournaments. But also, when I hear people who are teaming up with their cities to say, can you install these? So then the city ends up paying for it. And then how do you get control of that? What is that looking like for you and your negotiations with them?
So typically, like when we run our leagues at Harbor Island Park in the Mamaroneck, we have a contract, and it's year to year, and we get 80%.
Year to year.
Yep, it's 80% off the top for us, and they keep 20, and then we run our stuff. So
okay. That's a lot to give away of your business, no?
20%.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. But so talking the financials, I mean, it's tough. You know, I mean, I think I paid out a loan for our juniors program, $11,000 is like 20% right off the top. It was rough to write that $11,000 check, you know? Right. So, and
you do that 2 years in a row, 3 years, and then you're like, that's definitely enough money to build 4 courts. Like that might take like, you know, 15 grand to build courts, and then you just need a down payment for the land.
Well, we wouldn't, I mean, the land is already there. They already own it. So they'd just have to put it there. So, but sure. We've had conversations with the permanent courts, and, you know, they have other things ahead of building them. So that's why we've reached out to our contact to send out our proposal to numerous different cities and towns and villages and, you know, point person for that location to say, hey, look, this is getting really popular. These people can't grow. And it kills us as a business because we're limited in what we can do. So for our juniors program, I have 2 sessions, Mondays and Tuesdays, and we were like so maxed out, like 155 kids. I have 7 nets. That's it, you know? So yeah, you split that in half and you have like 10 to 13 kids on a net, and you know, you coach. I mean, that's a lot of kids on a net, you know, when it comes to playing doubles, you know, it's not sixes. So
we could get into talking about how to maximize your numbers for
please.
twos.
Yeah. So it prevents us from doing a lot more. And we also can't run beach tournaments on the weekends once it's season. So we mostly just run our grass stuff. So we have programs Monday through Friday, but now, when they're in season, we can't run volleyball tournaments on the beach, only on the grass. So for us, it's killing us because people in our area have to drive to Long Island or New Jersey. And if we had something here, again, we would dominate beach volleyball in Lower Westchester because there's just nothing like it here.
Yeah.
There's no other location except for Rye Beach, but they'll never let you do anything there as far as like running tournaments or,
Okay.
So that's where we're at. So
I think my next question then is kind of two parts. One, why are you asking somebody else to build it instead of getting a commercial plot of land and building your own spot? Is it just the numbers and taxes and insurance thing? And then after that, I want to get into what you put into that proposal to the city. Like, how did you structure it? So first question first, why not have your own land? Why are you asking cities?
Well, because we're also in the process of hunting down a warehouse to make our own indoor facility. So that, again, the gym space is very limited. We can't run from any schools anymore because of COVID. And even, prior to COVID, I'm the assistant director at the club that I'm at. Eventually, in the next few years, I'll be the co-director along with the other co-director. The one will be stepping down and retiring. So we need a home base. We need our own place. And then, obviously my husband and I will continue to run our organization in there as well, providing adult tournaments and leagues and clinics. There's just not enough room. There's not enough space. Okay. We don't have gym time. So that's kind of the priority. I'm actually looking. So
you are doing that. You're already looking to either get a long-term lease in place, I imagine, or just own your own spot.
I think for right now, if we can find something long-term, 10 years plus, because we're never going to, our business, I can't imagine is ever going to get worse. It's only going to get better. Every year we have more and more kids coming to try out. This year for club, we had 250 girls come and try out. And we had to cut, I think, like almost 100 kids because we have 12 teams and limited gym space. So instead of getting rid of those 100 kids, we can build more teams, which obviously will bring in more revenue, right? So everything, it's just a lack of having court space, sand, indoor, outdoor, across the board. It's killing us financially, to not have it.
So then you're also asking, so you're saying that your focus is on getting your own spot, but at the same time, you are pushing a lot of energy into finding a city that will let you use a spot that they build.
Yeah.
So which is a bigger priority for you?
I think the indoor facility right now is the bigger of the two.
Okay.
Because it's more than just the adult portion of it. It's also the juniors aspect. And we need that more than anything,
Okay. Because you need a home.
We need a home. Yeah. And it's a lot easier to, run your own tournaments, your own club tournaments. And, for example, we're using the gym at SUNY Maritime for our tournaments, hopefully. I don't know. They have a new vaccination mandate in the city. So I don't know if that's going to work out or not. But, we just need our own place. That's it. I think the beach stuff, we can swing it for right now. And, maybe like in the next year or two, hopefully, maybe we can figure out a different game plan. We've thought of different ways to spin it off to somebody about the permanent sand courts, like, we could even put some of the money into it, or we can give you more of a percentage. Because if you think about it, and we've had some meetings, let's
get into that from the beginning. So let's aside from needing your own home, and first of all, to anybody who might be watching this or listening to this in the future, or to myself, remember, you don't need a home to build an empire. Like you just said, you're the 7th largest organization in the US for volleyball. And you never had a place that was yours. You just went to schools, you went to colleges, and you said, how much for your court space? How much for your court space? So it's pretty cool that you can do it without being a brick and mortar, staying in one place. You found out people who you could call, gyms you could rent, courts and permits, and I guess parks that you could say, hey, we just need this spot on Saturday and Sunday, or, every weeknight. So that's, I think for a lot of people, that's a big sticking point where they're like, well, I don't have doors to open. I don't have a place. I don't have a warehouse. So how can I run these volleyball tournaments? And all you got to do is find a space to rent and get 20 people who are interested in playing, and you've started. And you started something. You learn from there. So going back to, all right, you're petitioning now these cities. What does your proposal look like? What do you go and tell the city, or what do you bring to them and show them?
So in the proposal, a basic overview, I mean, people want to see numbers, right? Mm-hmm. They want to see growth in business. Like as far as money, okay, this is what we had in 2012. This is how many teams we had. Just going through the years of and showing the growth and showing more income each, season. Every program or every league that we've done, we've grown every single year. So you have to show growth, and you have to show, of course, the money. That's what they want to see. What are you going to bring to us? And then I show them, I give them a breakdown of, okay, this season we had this many teams, we maxed out, but we had 10 teams waiting. If we had these other 10 teams, this is the additional income that we lost, So just breaking everything down as far as numbers and showing what is made, what could be made, and what was lost, really.
Mm-hmm. And do you give them, when you bring that proposal and you're saying, now, look how much I make, how do you show what's in it to them? Do you start with I'm willing to give you 5%? How does that conversation, the first opening conversation, go?
The first opening conversation is the proposal and their interest. And then we sit down, we have a meeting, we talk about it. And then I give them examples of certain contracts that I have with other, places that I work with, right? So we do 80-20 cut here, 70-30 cut here. We do a certain amount off the top here, whatever it is, or we charge a certain amount per person is taken off. So I give, different examples of how we work with other towns when it comes to running or recreation departments.
So you don't have a locked-in number set yet. So you go in kind of with this is where we're at, and do you ask them what they want to do, or do you say, here's what I want you to do?
It's more or less like, here's my idea, here's what I'd love for you to do. What do you think? You know what I mean? Also, my husband and I have also said in those conversations too, like, hey, even if you build it and it costs X amount of money, right? For let's say 6 additional sand courts. Well, we can bring in this much revenue and it'll be paid for in one season, plus you'll probably make income off of it. So those are kind of examples that we can give, where we can change the percentages around. We'll give you more, or here's a certain percentage what we can give to, and by this day you'll be paid off, and then this is when you're going to start making money. So but I think you have to give them something to think about. And
so you're basically paying the business. You're saying like, hey, you're going to do the work, and that's your percentage. Your percentage is like the sweat equity of building a spot for us, and then this is when it pays off. And if you give me that contract for 3, 5, 10 years, like, this is what your financials look like after that.
Right.
And then hopefully you probably get them into a contract that's longer.
For sure.
And that they don't screw you over. Because I know, like in Long Beach in New York, Rich Hylas, who built his own empire, They like that city tried to snake the courts from under him and said like, yeah, thank you for building this empire and for supporting thousands of our volleyball playing citizens and making them healthier and getting them out and playing sports and giving all this money. And then they turn around and they say, okay, we're going to run that now. Like, thanks for showing us how to do it. Goodbye. And I wrote letters. Lots of people wrote letters to the city council saying like, dude, this is wrong. Like he did this for you, you know, for years 100%. And years. It wasn't like he ran one tournament and you saw like, okay, cool, we can do that too. He put 20 years of his life into this.
Oh yeah, a lot of work. Yeah, it was not good, but that that is the goal. So and I think that it's something. I mean, again, there's nothing like it in our area. So I mean, and we've thrown out the idea of potentially, hopefully, maybe someday, we bring an AVP event to Westchester instead of the city.
That'd be cool.
You guys do a tour here, and we also, in my proposal as well, that's actually in there, and it says, look, if we build this, we could potentially bring, the AVP tour here. Professional volleyball players, it's going to bring a lot of people to the town. They're going to spend money on hotels and food, and it's going to bring more revenue in for you. Aside from the volleyball part of it, you're going to, the whole entire town is going to benefit from it.
And then travel tournaments and all those parents coming in from the tri-state area who want to just like stay at a hotel overnight instead of driving back that 3 hours at the end of the night. Now they're eating at all the restaurants. Now they're staying at the hotels. Now they're shopping at the shops.
Yeah.
People and cities need to do a better job, I think, of recognizing the power of like singular tournaments and leagues that like what it can do for their city.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they do big golfing tournaments here. My husband was just chiming in the back. He's like, tell them that they do golf there. I guess it, I don't know. I don't know if it's the thing where people don't look at volleyball like as if you're, a football player or a basketball player. Like, I don't think they really see like how amazing volleyball is. Like, I don't think people understand it. But I think if they would see it, they would get it, why people love it.
We had a battle with Hermosa Beach here in California, and so you're saying 20%. Hermosa Beach, if you want to organize a city contracted class, they take 40% of your gross revenue. And so we're still talking to them on a regular basis and saying, this is absurd. Like, there's no way. And then I'm going to get slammed with like 33% or whatever from California taxes, because it's the only state that's double taxing the business and the business owner. So my business income gets taxed, and then that doesn't pass through. I get taxed then on my personal income. So it's like, now I need to operate a business on something like 20% of my gross revenue. And then I have to pay people, then I have to do this, and I have to do this. And it's like, something better has to happen here.
Did you ever think of so what we do? I mean, again, we don't have that many employees. We actually don't have any employees. We 1099 everybody. So we don't have any technical employees. So for us, that works out better because we don't have to worry about any workman's comp, any of that stuff.
Sure.
So we don't have to worry about certain things. So I don't know if your employees like on the books or
1099.
salary.
Everybody's 1099. They can run classes. They can work on their own time. They work on their own projects. They can choose to leave at any time. So we're all 1099s right now, except for myself, who I W-2 myself. At some point and figure it out. Yeah.
That 35,000, right?
That's I try not to claim that much, because when I look at my life from a tax situation, it goes, I live my brand. Like, look at what I wear every day. I don't go out wearing not my brand. Everywhere I walk, I'm talking about my business. I'm doing it. I'm traveling. When I travel, even when I go home to see my parents for Christmas in a week, I'm going to go and run clinics. So that flight is the flight to the clinic. That rental car is the rental car to the clinic. And these are when you never stop thinking about your business and you're the business owner and you never stop doing things for it. Everything is deductible.
Exactly. Everything is a write-off. My gas, everything.
But But, and here's what I'm running into, because I also do some real estate investments. When you do that, the banks who are trying to give you loans for a house say, you don't make anything.
Yep.
And so now,
yeah.
So let's go into some numberage here.
Oh boy.
We don't have to talk about your complete annual revenue. That would be interesting, but more, let's talk about one arm of your leagues, right? So name one of the places where you run leagues, and how many courts do they have?
Wow. Okay, so Harbor Island Park at the Mamaroneck, that's where you run pretty much everything, beach and grass.
Okay.
So it depends. It's a tricky question. So if we're running doubles, the most we can set up is 7. And if we're running 6s or 4s, then it's a full regular 30 by 60 court, and we can only have 5 courts on the beach. I mean, the grass, there's endless amounts of grass. It goes forever. So the fields aren't the problem.
Okay.
So like I said, we make do with
So you set up park and sun nets, like every time you run your league, each night you set it up. Okay, there's a little bit of added time there to dig some holes and set some stuff up. All right, but so we're running, let's just say 7 courts. All right, and how many times do those leagues happen? How many nights?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Great, 4 nights a week. Okay, and are you running 2s, 4s, or you're running 2s on them?
We're running 2s on the, obviously, regular short court, and then on the regular size court, 6s or 4s.
Okay. And then
or triples.
How many teams and how many signups are you getting per league? How many different leagues are there going on at one time?
Okay, so Mondays and Tuesdays. Mondays is men's doubles. Okay. Tuesday was men's doubles and women's 4s. Wednesdays were co-ed 4s and intermediate co-ed 6s. And then Thursdays are co-ed recreational 6s.
Okay. So now, do you have different time slots for all of those? Are they all running at the same time?
So pretty much we start at like 6:30 and go until dark.
Oh, so you only have one time slot for everybody?
Well, not for everybody. So my husband will do the schedule. Some people start at 6:30, some will be at 7. So he kind of schedules so you have at least 2 to 3 matches a night.
Okay. And how long do the leagues run? I guess, I mean, you can probably sign up for multiple leagues.
Yes, you can. So our co-ed 4s and intermediate and recreational 6s start at the beginning of May and end mid-August. The men's, so we run it all summer.
That's one
co-ed,
league?
There are 3 different leagues, and they run.
But so from May to mid-August, so the people who sign up for your league, they're committing themselves to May, June, July, and a little bit of August, or do they have sections like it goes May to June and then June to July?
Beginning, middle of May, straight to middle of August.
Okay.
And people love it.
Great.
They
play every week, once a week.
Yep, every week, unless they're playing in, more than one league. So we have 6 total leagues. So, and then the co-ed doubles and the men's and women's league, we do from beginning of May until the middle of June. And then after that, Mondays and Tuesdays are for the Juniors Beach program, the Juniors Beach doubles program. Okay. And then that will run until mid-August.
Okay. And how much does essentially you have one that runs for 8, 12, maybe 14 weeks for one league. And how much per team do you charge, and how many teams are there per league?
So this year with the 4s and 6s, we had 35 teams. Is that right? 4s and then both 6s. Yeah, those 3 leagues together, 4s and then both 6s, about 35 teams collectively.
Okay, and then
total.
Okay, and then what do you charge per league?
For the 6s, 800, and then for the 4s, we charged, I think, 575.
Have you ever considered making several smaller leagues? Because if you're running 14. You could divide that into 2 leagues technically, and then you give people a little bit more opportunity. Yeah, and then charge $4.50 each. You know, everybody gets 2 shirts now to wear at a bar, and spread your name. And then they also get that chance of when their team starts sucking.
To find a new team,
like midsummer shuffle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, well, there's one other league at Rye Beach. I mean, it's the only volleyball that they have there, and it's like sometimes they have like 9 people on the court, 9 on the beach. Okay. Does that make you cringe?
For the non-volleyball people, that's an excessive amount of bodies on one court.
Yeah. So yeah, I think sixes is, but people like sixes. You know, I mean, you know, it's more for the rec and the intermediate. They love it. So.
All right. So for 3 leagues, you got 35 teams, able to set up on one beach, times 800. So you're looking at 28,000 there, just gross. And then you have to pay, of course, all your software, all of your shirts, getting somebody down there to dig the holes and set up the courts and hand out the clipboards. And that's all
you. That's me.
Saving that money
usually
still.
Yeah, well, that, and we also we hire some of the kids that we coach, and they come down. We throw them some cash. You know, they get their hours in, and you know, they set nets up and they hang out on the beach. So we do have some of our athletes come help us as well. We're not just myself and Anthony.
Okay, great. And yeah, and we're doubling that because that's just 3 of your leagues. So you're looking at 50, probably 56,000 gross for the summer season, and then figuring it out from there on that facility. So that's nice. That's good. That takes a lot of work to grow. That takes a lot of marketing. That takes a lot of T-shirts and people talking about their things. Have you set up any peripheral advantages for the players? Like, can they go to a bar? Have you ever seeked out sponsorships? We used to seek out sponsorships and partnerships. And I found out that we were spending more time trying to get somebody to give our people a bonus than we were spending on making it great for our people and spending on like the future of our business. So we've completely done away with partnerships and affiliate codes and like coupons for protein. And we said, no, You're taking whatever hours you're going to spend on that partnership and you're going to turn it into growing our business.
Yeah. We have done sponsors, but to be honest with you, we had a bar close to us. We used to bring them a ton of people, and they weren't reciprocating. You know, they wouldn't.
When people don't recognize that, it's crazy when people don't recognize.
So we're bringing, like, you know, think about it. I mean, again, and just those 3 leagues that you mentioned, we still have 3 other leagues on top of that, and tournaments that we're doing. So on an average Wednesday night and Thursday, we're bringing anywhere. And I used to go in and count. I do a head count. 30 to 60 players at the bar. They wouldn't have a drink special menu. They wouldn't have enough bartenders on staff. It just was honestly a shit show. Like, it was just, why am I working so hard? I run volleyball. I don't run a bar. And at one point, it's like they wanted me to produce and bring players in, which I did. But then they weren't reciprocating. And then it became more of a job than anything. And like, I mean, people can drink on the beach.
And now you're working for them. And it's like, you've got all this energy that you're dedicating to another person's company. And it's like, hey, this should be a bonus for our players. And I'm bringing you lots of people, lots of business. That's incredibly unrewarded in so many of the bar and restaurant partnerships that I've seen. That gets completely ignored by the bar. They don't recognize, like, oh, our bar brought in, 40 people this night. No, this organizer who brought their party to you and is promising to bring these people to you every night of the week, they're the ones who are doing that. So give them a cap. So the next bar that you go to, the next restaurant that you go to, you say, this is the number of people I counted, here are my statistics, and you can't tell me that I'm not bringing people. And it is so important to track things like that. The first time we started tracking things like that was when we had a big argument with the city. And one of my friends He's now one of my friends. He was like our player. He calculated every dollar. He looked at his credit card, singular credit card statement, and he calculated every dollar he had spent in Hermosa Beach in the last year.
Yeah.
And it was like $16,000. Like between drinks, because he was here, he lived in El Segundo, so he was like never would have been here otherwise. Parking meters, parking tickets, all these things. And it's incredible, like the power that a small business can bring to the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
But it's also, you have to be able to calculate that and show people. So the more you can write things down and track those numbers, which I never did early on. This is the first year where I'm actually tracking numbers, if you can believe it or not. I was just like, oh, that's what's on my account right now. Okay, that's what's going all back into marketing. That's going all into shirts. That's going all into an SEO writer who can do this. And I've never set a budget for myself other than 0 on my bank account. I'm like, can't get to 0, which is not the way to do it. This year is going to be very, very, very different.
For sure.
But I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so let's a couple more questions, and then I will let you go. But a little more deep dive into that. So thanks for sharing those numbers with the league. Yeah. You said that you don't have any employees. You only have 1099. What are your weaknesses as a CEO, as somebody who's running this business together with your husband? What is your specific weakness?
I mean, definitely for myself, not taking the time to kind of assess the situation, and sometimes immediately I'm already like infuriated, and so my husband is like the happy medium. He is the one who's kind of like, well, you got to take a step back, you got to reevaluate it, and don't be such a bitch, pretty much, because sometimes that's
we're in opposite situations with my marriage.
So
my wife's like, stop being so tough on people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the hard ass, I think, between the both of us. And like I said, I think my husband can be not overly nice, but too nice, to the fact of like, yeah, we're nice, but like, don't mess with us because like we're in charge. So I think for me, it's just sometimes, not that I've ever yelled at anybody, but there are times where I'm like enraged, and I need to just not be so enraged and think about it and then react. Sometimes I react too quickly. But again, I'm working on it, right? working on it. No, I mean, it is better. I mean, I see more black and white. I do know that there are shades of gray, but like, my husband just said, I hate the gray. Gotcha. I hate the gray sometimes, I know it's there, but, sometimes certain situations are not negotiable, and it is what it is. That's it. Boom, done.
Everything's negotiable. If you look at it, if you're on offense, you would say everything's negotiable.
Yes, exactly.
And if somebody's approaching you, you'd be like, nah.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Cool. So knowing that, for anybody who might potentially be looking for a job while listening to this, or just knowing it, if money were no object, what person or role would you hire to get your company to the next level? Do you think would just skyrocket? Would it be another one of you? Would it be somebody who makes you more efficient? Sure.
My goal is this. I want us to get to the point where we have what we need as far as the extra courts and the facility, and I want to oversee everything. Like, I want to be in control, but I would like to hire somebody who's like myself or Anthony, my husband. And I don't want to use the word hands. I don't want to be hands off of the situation. You know what I mean? Like, I still want to be involved, but I don't want to do everything, because my husband and
what would you take off the plate?
Everything.
So would it be the negotiation? Setting up the
net?
No,
definitely not.
Okay.
Setting up the nets for sure. Someone doing the scheduling, ordering the shirts, like the things.
This is all virtual assistant stuff.
Yeah.
This is all like $6 to $10 an hour in the Philippines stuff. We have people now. So when we run our camps, because we ran into quite a few hiccups of like people who are responsible for bringing a water cooler, people who are responsible for like setting up the speaker and everything like that. So now we have a system, we have a checklist on our Excel sheet, and we know which day we need it. And we say, get a picture of the speaker and the water cooler in your car. Like, no, you're going to put it into the trunk. You're going to put it in there 5 days in advance. And you're not going to tell me on game day that, oh, shoot, we don't have water. Like, so we've got a little check system that we're doing better. And he can teach them how to be anal about their nets and be super strict in the beginning. And then that'll carry on for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do have one person that helps us, but she's going to college, so that really stinks. She's like our adopted child, you know, like she's
great.
She's like an adult, but she's like 17 years old and she's amazing. She's probably like the only person I think right now that we actually trust, where we've given our keys and said, hey, you know, start setting up. We'll be down there in a bit. And she handles it like a boss, but we'll have to train someone else. It's very sad.
Time to train somebody else. I want to see you wasting 168 hours this summer digging holes.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, so that's what would propel you to the next level, is finding somebody to take the kind of menial tasks off of your hands so that you could think bigger picture. Okay?
For sure.
And then you're just stuck on finding that, or knowing how to pay for that, or knowing how to even ask for that, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
We got a free t-shirt design just by saying, hey, does anybody like doing designs? And like, some people pay a lot of money for t-shirt designs. And some guy was like, oh, I just like drawing. And it would be really cool to see one of my drawings on your t-shirts that you sell. And he did it completely for free. And he's like, could you send me 3 of the shirts? And I was like, yeah,
absolutely.
You know, and that took one post in the Facebook group to get somebody who would like to go and build that. So you get a little answer there. All right. And so just to kind of wrap it up, 3 main questions. Number 1, is there any software or tools that are absolute must-haves in your business of running leagues, running volleyball leagues and tournaments?
Must-haves. I mean, we obviously need our social media, Instagram, Facebook. As far as running tournaments, no. I mean, everybody registers, you know, on the AVP America site. That pretty much does everything for us. It seeds everybody.
Okay. So you don't need a tournament building system.
No.
Great. Okay. So AVP America's already handled that. Nice.
Yeah, and they already have all the pool play sheets, you know, according to how many different teams are in each pool, blah, blah, blah. So we literally just go into our promoter login, print out all the paperwork, boom, it's ready to go. Amazing. Okay. Yeah. So nothing really needed there. And then we have our website, but I have to email your guy because he needs to go in there and fix the whole thing.
Okay, David.
David. Yeah. But we use our site for scheduling for the league and any information that we post and that type of stuff. We just need someone, like I briefly told you before this, that, you know, we just need someone to go in there, revamp it, make it look like it needs to. And it is a functioning site, but we need to be able to have it function easier than what is going on. That makes sense. I know how you feel. Yeah. Okay. So we're not we're not tech savvy people, but I also feel like, my husband disagrees, but like, I feel like we're a successful organization, and I feel like our website looks like a child did it. But, you know, I mean, it just, if we're on top of our game as an organization, our website needs to reflect that as well, because it's kind of like your business card in a sense. People are always going to be like, oh, sure. Westchester Volleyball, let's look at the site. Oh, a 2-year-old did it. Perfect. Like, let's
get the job done. Getting the job done. So don't go breaking the bank and putting too many bells and whistles, because you can make things perfect forever, and they will, like, we know this from sport, it will never be perfect. So you just go with good enough and you step on the field of play, you know, like, make sure that you're not just repetitively crushing your own time for something that you have evidence right now that that's not necessarily needed. And I would love to see if you like sat down and you say, if we had a better website, how much more money would that bring into our business, or how much easier would it make it for our clients? It might make it prettier for your clients, but is it going to make it easier? Sometimes you add all the bells and whistles and it adds all this like complicated steps, and people need to click on 14 things just to buy your league. Right. When it's just like, they need a place to buy the league. They're not hanging out on your site. They need to sign up.
Yeah, I think it's just more like the functioning part of it on our end. We need it to be more user friendly for us to do what we need to, like
to make adjustments and edit.
Yeah, like the scheduling portion of it. So when people go on the site, it's, you know, easier to locate and just navigate your way through the site. I mean, because we don't even take payments. We don't take credit cards. That's the first thing. So
wow. Okay.
We take cash or Venmo. I have a business account set up for Venmo, but it's easier to get everything electronically. So, you know, worst case, we get a check, but yeah, we don't even do online payment. Super easy.
All right. And then, so finally, just to again, for the third time, to wrap things up, the last part I want to ask you is, do you wish you had made any different choices or different timings of choices at any different moments in building your company right now?
I think for like the beach part of it, I think what we're doing and how we're kind of adding a little more each year is great. Grass volleyball is very big here. And I think the one thing that we're struggling with, because grass is everywhere, right? I mean, what's going to make our field better than someone else's field, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's grass. So there is another competing organization in Connecticut, and they've been around for quite some time. So I wish we would have jumped on that, you know, grass bandwagon a little bit ago, instead of just, because we were just really doing, we did too much this summer. We tried to do too much. We were like, okay, you know, 2 years ago, last season, obviously, you know, last year, we couldn't run any volleyball, but the year before, you know, we were doing quads tournaments. And then this year, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have all this property. Like, let's do stuff every weekend. Yeah, let's go. And like, you know, you put all these tournaments up and then you're like, shit, like, you know, they're not, you know, some are filling up and then some aren't. So we went from not doing much to then like balls to the wall. And we're like, whoa, you know, there was no in between of building what we're doing. So I wish we would have started building, you know, a few years back to get to a point now where I think if we would have done that, we would have more success in our tournament.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure. Building out your grass arm earlier, or seeing all that land and knowing like, hey, we've got this space. Why not just do more? But at the same time, you said also that you weren't selling out your tournaments or leagues, or like,
well, our leagues always sell out for beach. It's the grass tournaments. Like we do well, but one of the reasons why we like AVP America too is that other organizations that are in our area are not allowed to compete with us. So if we put up tournament dates, they're not allowed to host a tournament that date. But we ran into having a quads tournament, and it was up there, you know, for months. And then another organization that Monday put up a tournament for like a Revco quads tournament co-ed, you know, and people love Revco here. They freaking love it. I don't know why. But we like traditional co-ed because like that's real co-ed and the men's net, right? Whatever. So for whatever reason, people gravitated towards that. And instead of people who were saying, yeah, we're going to sign up for your tournament, went to the other tournament. And this organization is very well established. It's been around for like a long time. So they have the people coming there. And they're actually, these players are driving past Mamaroneck all the way to Connecticut. And I'm like, wow. We're 20 minutes. We are 20 minutes from the city, or like 20 minutes from the Bronx. I'm like, wow. Well, why are you guys going up there? So we have been working, you know, with some other players who have been helping us like promote our organization, because some people are like, you know, who are you guys? You know, when did you guys start doing grass tournaments? Like, you know, it's weird because we have like this big following with our leagues and our beach and all that stuff. And then when it comes to grass, we're like, trying to grab people from different boroughs, from Queens to city, wherever. And people are like, who are you? And I'm like, huh? What do you mean? You guys are driving 2 hours to Connecticut. We're like 20 minutes away. So
sounds like you need a small Facebook ad, a small, cheap Facebook ad. That would be interesting. To hit all of the Bronx, Queens, Manhattanites.
And the thing is, it's crazy because I'm like, all right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do $1,000 cash payout for open, and it's a minimum of 10 teams. I'm like, big letters, Facebook event. I put it in every group page, like Central Park, here, there, everywhere. I mean, I blasted it out numerous times, and I'm like, does no one want to make $1,000? 10 teams, and you're playing volleyball, and if you win, you get a free optics ball. You get $1,000.
That's nice.
And I'm like,
I'll be there.
Okay, perfect. Then you can run a clinic too when you're done.
Great.
Awesome. You can go play volleyball with my husband.
I'm ready.
My husband wanted to ask you where you guys are. I mean, I don't know if grass is big or not, but do people play more short court grass or long court?
Yeah, in California?
Yeah.
I know of one kind of grass league that's down in San Diego. Flat out never hear about it here in Southern California. Well, there's so much beach.
Yeah.
That if you're going to choose, like, I mean, our beach is over 100 yards wide, and it runs for cities and cities and cities. So there's no shortage of space that you could just go and play, set up your own park and sun. There is that little thing here specifically where they have these public courts, and then everybody like argues and fights over these public courts. And it's like, yeah, there is 100 more square miles of beach.
Exactly.
Yeah. Get your $150 park and sun net and set it up, and you'll never have to wait for court time. But that, I don't know, people haven't heard about portable nets in Southern California. They just rely on the cities to put up the big posts. But yeah, there's opportunities for people, and I do think that there's opportunity for some fun grass leagues and grass tournaments, but it'd just be tough for those to compete with beach. So it'd be an experiment.
Yeah.
And one that we might run ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, because here I know the AVP Grass Tour, when they do the grass doubles, the tour, they're using a short court, but there are a lot of organizations where we are in New York that are using the long court, which to have a 30 by 60 court when you're playing doubles is odd. And it changes the whole dynamic of the game, right? It's a completely different game. So we always do short court. And a lot of people that come to our grass tournaments are like, why do you have a short court? And I'm like, because it's doubles. I'm like, if you played on a long court, regular sized court, all I have to do is cut the ball and tip or like roll short every time, or roll deep, depending where you are. I mean, it's super easy. I mean, I don't even have to swing, you know what I mean? So playing on a short court is like the right way to play. I mean, that's just what we're assuming, but it's odd. People in New York are weird. You know that. You're from New York. I mean,
we're great.
Weird.
All right. So Beth, I just want to thank you so much for coming on, for sharing all of that for everybody who's listening. Westchester Volleyball is where it's at. And if you are in the tri-state area, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, go ahead and hit them up for their leagues as well as their tournaments, which seem to be growing and growing and growing. So do you have any parting words for anyone who is considering or just getting started with their sport business?
You have to be confident, and it's going to be a lot of work, but you'll make a lot of mistakes along the way. But eventually all those mistakes will lead to a lot of better decisions, and you're going to make a lot. But as long as you learn from them and you grow from it, possibilities are endless. That's how I see it.
Awesome.
And be nice. And be nice.
And be nice.
And be nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And
you're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.